Hey everyone, I'm Sarah, and today we are going to be doing drawing. So welcome to my art stream. The theme of this week is still life, and we are specifically going to be drawing and painting fruit. Tomorrow is my painting class, and I try to stick with a theme. So let me go ahead first. I'm going to go over the supplies, and then I'm going to show you the reference photo that we will be using today. All right, so first I've got a drawing set here, and it's a little pricey. I think it was like 35 bucks or something like that, but it's nice. If you really are serious about drawing, I highly recommend getting some kind of set that has at least maybe like a 2B, 4B, and 6B pencil. The B stands for bold, so the higher the number, the darker you can get. But this particular set also has sepia colors, which is this brownish tone. It has both graphite, that's the 2B, 4B, 6B I just told you about, and lead, which can get even darker, and then charcoal, which is even darker. But what I really like about this set is that it has, it comes with a little spreader, which you can buy these individually, but I highly recommend getting one of these. If you don't have one, you can always use your finger or a wadded up piece of paper or a paper towel, but these are great because they're pointed so you can get into nice little crevices. A kneaded eraser, which is great because you can mold it into exactly the shape you want, and then erase just a little tiny area. And then it also has sticks of the same things as the pencils. And why this is good is that sometimes you need to get really broad areas or you need a specific texture, and the sticks can do that. However, having said all of that and touted this really great art set, which by the way is called Gioconda, and it's made by Koh-i-Noor is the brand. And I highly recommend this. I really like their tools, are very high quality. However, you can use a number 2 pencil. I do recommend getting another eraser besides just the one that's at the top. You can see I've already worn my eraser down with different things. I like to use like different rubber erasers. This one is a very soft one. This one is harder. So there you go. And somewhere, here we go, a pencil sharpener. And that's just handy to keep on you. I like to use ones that I buy in beauty supply stores like Ulta or Sally's. They're very inexpensive and they're very sturdy because they're made for wax pencils. So they can handle a lot of stuff. Okay, so I've gone through the supplies. I've got paper here, just a 9x12 notebook of paper. And then let's talk about the reference photo. So today we're doing a bowl of fruit, and you may have seen my reference photo if you're coming to me from Twitter. I always post my reference photo, but if you're not, it's really handy to have something to look at besides just what I'm drawing on the paper. So I highly recommend joining my Discord server, which is right here. There's also a button below that says Discord, and if you join my server, this is what you're going to see. Let me pull it up. So there is a channel on Discord. So here's my Discord channel. So this is, it says reference photos, and this is what we're going to be drawing today, is this bowl of fruit. So it's very simple, you know, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. It's worth it to have a reference photo, something to look at. Okay, so without further ado, if there are not any questions, let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, I'm going to use my 2B pencil, but if you have a number 2 pencil, that's fine. You just use that instead. Mine is a little dull, so I'm going to sharpen it real quick. My trash can is underneath my desk, so give me just a minute. It's nice to have a pretty sharp pencil when you're starting. There we go. All right. So 2B. So if you're using a number 2 pencil, this is an HB pencil. And what that means is it's right in the middle between the H scales and the B scales. H means hard, B means bold. So the harder you get, the more shinier it gets, and the more you can get much thinner lines, much crisper lines. So that's what an H pencil is good for. B pencils are good for getting thicker lines, darker. They spread easier, whereas the H pencils don't spread. So that means that you get a crisper line because you don't have like that. You don't have like any aliasing that's going on. So I use mostly B pencils because I like things to be all spready and blendy and, you know, that kind of thing. But there is, I would say H pencils are probably more used in graphic design where you want really crisp lines or illustration. But there is a place for those. So you can always look at getting those. This is HB, just meaning that it's right in the middle. You get a nice crisp line, and it's dark enough where things like the bubble sheet coders can pick it up. So, okay. Let's get started. We're going to start by drawing our basic shapes. So we're going to start with a bowl. And you know what? I actually want this to be, I have it in portrait orientation. I want it to be landscape because our bowl is kind of wide. So we're going to just turn this. And I'm going to just move these up here so you can see. All right. So first things first, we're going to draw a bowl pretty much right in the middle because this is like the center of our thing. Now, I don't always like drawing, I've got some mess on my paper here. Always remember to blow instead of wipe. Now, right now, because I don't have anything on my paper, it'd be fine for me to wipe. But if you have already started drawing and you wipe, you can smear what you're working on. So I recommend just blowing any kind of eraser marks away. All right, so normally I don't suggest putting something directly in the middle. So what we're going to do is we find about where the middle is. Oops, and it's rolling. So this is about the middle, right? So that is not where we want it to go. We want it to go either to the right of that or to the left of that. Now, in the reference drawing, let me bring it back up so you can see. So in the reference drawing, oops, here we go. You can see that the table, there's something going on the left side. So we want to shift this a little bit to the right. So you can see the center of the paper is about right here, and see that the bowl has shifted slightly right. So that's what we're going to do in ours as well. All right. So we found our center, and we're just going to move slightly to the right, and we're going to draw a nice big oval. I'm looking to see if that oval's big enough. Got to here, the table. So I'm just doing some really basic measurements. I could probably do my oval just a little bigger. All right, so I'm going to erase that center. So this is, so how you judge this is, I like to look, I'm going to bring the Discord picture up again just so I can show you in the reference photo. So I like to look at the distance between the edge here, so this side, the left side, and then the distance between the right side. And that's how I kind of tell where I want everything to go. Now the actual, like from a horizontal perspective, it's right in the middle pretty much. All right, so let's take a look at what I've got. So it's right about in the middle. It was slightly farther from the left than it was from the right. So there we go. So that's how I determine, and I just guesstimate. It's not, if you're a little bit off, that's okay. It's not a problem. It's when you, if this were very small, you know, like say I had a circle in here, you know, obviously that's not gonna, I'm not gonna have enough room for my fruit. Big John, hey, how you doing? So we are doing a still life today, a bowl of fruit. All right. So now we've got our rim, and we are going to come in slightly, like about here, and do like a scooping shape. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Let's round that a little bit. So I made mine a little bit square. And it's actually okay if this is a little sketchy. It's not a problem. You just want to make sure that you've got the shapes that you want. Let me see. Now normally I don't really use my eraser, but I want you guys to be able to see, because you can make sketchy lines. I want you to be able to see like where the lines are supposed to go, you know. In fact, that's probably I'm like really struggling with my shapes today. So this happens. So usually I can spot it. I can spot what the shape should look like. That just takes practice, drawing over time. You know, you get better at determining what a shape should look like, eyeballing that. But I'm probably a little tired today. You know, went to bed late last night, whatnot. All right, so now we're going to do our table. Now this has a little bit of perspective, so it's starting from about here and coming to about here. So what we're going to do is draw a line to there. Now, to draw a straight line, instead of moving your wrist, you move your entire arm, and that's how you get straight lines. Now we want it to come down to this corner. So we're just going to... Now you can use a ruler, like if I wanted to really make sure this was lined up, I could use a ruler. I'm not that worried about it though. So, and we're gonna actually have material that comes over the side. So we don't, right now we're just getting our lines in place. Okay. All right, now we are going to, now we're going to actually work in our shapes. So first things first, let's go ahead and get a rim going in here. So we're just gonna bring in a parallel line that runs on this circle. It doesn't need to go all the way around because we're gonna have fruit covering that area. Similarly, we're going to have, coming kind of straight down, we're going to have another one that runs along the bottom. All right, now let's get our shapes in here. So right now we're just going to start with some circles. We're not going to try to get apple shapes and orange shapes and such. We're just going to start with a few circles. So we will do, let's see, we've got kind of a circle that's going into the side of the bowl there. We've got another one here. And it's okay if your circle isn't perfect. That's not a problem, because we're going to be reshaping these later. Another one. Let's do, so we're going to do a pair over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two circles. I'm going to do a bigger circle, and then I'm going to do a smaller circle. And the smaller circle is actually going over the edge. And then what we'll do is we'll connect those. You see what I did there? So I just connected those with like a little scoop neck. And that's how you get your pair. And you can erase out those circle lines that you made. Let's see, we're going to do one here. I'm just following the reference photo. I'm looking at the reference photo and seeing where my shapes are. We're not going to worry about the grapes just yet. The grapes are going to go in this area here, and it's going to cover some of our other stuff. So we're just going to wait on those. And then we have another little apple down here that's just kind of hidden in the back. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and define our shapes. So we can erase out like our center lines from some of these apples. This one goes behind. All right, let's start with this apple over here. So it's going to have like basically like a little indentation, like a little valley. So we've got two little hills with like a little valley in the middle. And we can erase that top line. The same thing, this apple is going to be facing kind of that direction. This apple here is going to keep its same shape, but what we're going to do is in the middle, we're going to actually do that same, this shape here, we're just going to actually make that shape. And this one has a very slight shape, but we're going to actually make that same shape. It's going to follow that. This one here, again, we're going to do something similar to this. It's going to have a very slight shape like the one that we've been doing. And then it will have the same shape there. Now up at the top, we're going to go ahead and just kind of outline where we want the grapes to go. So I'm going to start it here. Just do like kind of a scooping. And then we can go ahead and erase the bowl line because the grapes will be covering that. I'm going to make my pear a little fatter. Just a little bit. All right, let's get a couple stems in here. So let's see. I want to actually make the shape. I'm going to just follow this line. And from that shape, that's where our stem is going to go. Now our stem is almost like a very long triangle. We'll do the same thing here. And it can curve a little bit. It doesn't have to be straight up. Again, we're coming out of the center. So this is where the apple's been cut off of its branch. So, you know, these might bend every which way. And then we'll have one here. It's coming out of the top of the pear. All right. Now that we've drawn in like where we want stuff to go, now we can draw our grapes. Our grapes are just going to be little ovals. So I've got an oval here. I've got an oval here. I've got one here. And I can actually erase out this pear line here. I accidentally erased the... let's see. I want to do another little guy here. You can actually kind of make this up. You don't have to necessarily follow exactly what I'm doing. I'm just putting stuff. I'm just putting little grapes here and there. Let's see, what else? Let's see, I might have one kind of coming here. And don't forget to put some of your grapes behind some of the others. The pear has holes in it. Hey, Mahab. Thank you for joining us. These are grapes. We've got one. We'll have one going behind the stem there. Maybe one back behind there. And see how I'm just making it look like it's receding behind these two grapes. Let's see. I'm going to do one here. And let's see, and we'll do one here. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to erase some of the lines, like for the grapes, like the pear lines. Then this right here, this line that was in the back, we're going to actually make that into a stem. So that's going to be like our grape stem. I'm going to do one more grape up here. There we go. That feels more complete to me now. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a vanishing point for the material in the picture. So we're going to pick where we want that to go. I'm going to put that, let's see, if we were to follow this line, and this is where a ruler might come in handy, but you can eyeball it. If we were going to follow this line, our table would be somewhere back here, right? So we're going to make this our vanishing point. So let's see, we're going to come here, 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 and see how everything's radiating off of this? And just pretend like that's going right on through there. If you want to, you can use your ruler again. Just so you know. And let's see, we'll probably have one right in the middle. Like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the end of this and just curve down and just make kind of a nice curved line coming off of there. And let's see, we can actually curve this out a little bit, like just let it curly Q out just a bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do an S shape. So it's going to start squiggling here. It's going to actually come past that line and curve up. It's like a long S. Then we're going to come back down like that and just curve. So it's kind of a funky S and then this like slide attached to it. Whenever I am trying to draw something that by looking at it, I try to come up with a shape that it looks like in my head. And that helps you determine. So like to me that looked like a really long S, you know, with a little slide coming from it. So that's what I try to draw. But it might look like something else to you. Now, we've got this side. We need to, I'm going to erase this line here, the line that's like coming through, in the middle of that S. And we're going to redraw a line coming from the edge here. So from this outside. And that's going to be the underneath of the... We can actually erase this too. All right. Now this line here is going to actually curve over. And it will come right past that line. It's going to actually go past that and come down. Now, this one is going to, we're going to have like a little candy cane. So I'm going to scoop up and come down like that. So see, it's like, or a question mark maybe, like it's the beginning of like a question mark. And then this will also go back up. This will come over, and that's not going to come all the way down. We're just going to let that go. This one will come over. This one will come over. Oh, there was a little one here that I didn't see. We'll bring that down. This will come over, and it's like all of these are going to come over. Now, as they're going to actually come a little bit more towards you, because we're facing right here. So they're only going to curve very slightly. Now let's go ahead and erase. We're just going to erase like a big chunk in the back here. All of the lines behind the bowl can be erased, and then we'll just kind of let it there. We might erase a little bit here. Yeah. Okay. Now we can also go ahead and erase this, the table line that we drew earlier. We can erase that now. It might be easier just to erase the line and then redraw, because we're going to be shading these in, so it's fine that we had to erase that a little bit. There. Flux, hey, welcome. We are drawing fruit today. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start drawing our shadows. I want this area of the table to be dark, so we're just going to shade that in. Try to use the same direction. Just slow down when you get to places where you don't want to draw over another part of your drawing. So you just slow down a little bit, but try to go in the same direction. That's going to give it a better finish. There. The other thing we're going to be doing is we've got a shadow that goes behind it. So we're going to come out, let's see, we're just going to do like an oval. I'm going to shade this in, but we're going to end up blending this. So you don't have to worry about it being too dark. Okay, now, since we put our shadow going this way, then that means all of our shadows are going to go that way. So, let's see. Well, let's see. We've got, so what we're looking at is we're looking at this as a ridge right here. So we're going to see the shadow right on the inside of that. So we're just thickening that up a little bit. We'll darken right at the edge, and then we'll just very lightly come out from that. Same thing with the next one. So this one doesn't go all the way down. And then very lightly come out from that. How's everybody doing today? All right. So we're just going to keep doing this where we just darken it up a little bit and then come out from it with a little bit less pressure. You had a long day? What'd you do today? All right. So these lines are a little bit thicker because they're closer to us, so we can see more of the indent, like more of the crease. You know what? I think maybe I want my bowl to come out a little bit more. All right. So we're going to use our spreader for this. We're going to take, now if you don't have a spreader, again, you can use your finger or you can use a wadded up piece of paper. But we're just going to go over this and just kind of spread everything around. Once your spreader gets dirty, then you can do cool stuff, like you can make your shading fade a little bit more. Let's see, this is going to be colored in here. So all I'm doing is going over the areas that I just shaded in with my spreader, and what that does is it darkens it. It looks like it darkens it a little bit because what it's doing is actually catching all the white areas that didn't get caught with the pencil. It's just filling everything in, so more area is covered. Big John says, stores are open. You got 2 and 4 round tip brush, 9x12, 48 count portfolio, and Copic blender. Nice. Man, those are good tools. Ready to draw. And paint, sounds like. All right, so I'm going to blend this in. And then I'm going to take my blender, which should be dirty by now, like even if you were using your finger or whatever, and I'm going to go outside of that shape just a little bit. So it gives it a little bit more of a amorphous appearance on the outside, that it's not like a hard line. There. Now this area here, I used my blender because my blending stump has a lot of, you can see a lot of stuff on it. But if you didn't have that, you can just color this in first, like shade it in, and then use your blending stump to blend it. Let's see, this area here would be similar, and it's going to be a little bit darker up towards the top. A little bit darker up towards the top, and then lighter towards the bottom. Like that. We can actually shade in the table part a little bit more, make it darker. It's always better to add shading rather than going too dark and having to erase out. So you can put a layer, and then you can decide, well, you know, I want that to be darker, and just put another layer at the same pressure. It will fill everything in, I promise. And a haircut. Oh man, and new Vans. You just had a nice big shopping spree today. Very cool. So yeah, that was an exhausting day, because shopping is extremely exhausting. I don't think people fully understand. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and get some shading done in the top part here. So we're going to, in this area, in between the apples, shade that in. We've got this area over here. Since our light is coming from this side, then this rim, is it going to be dark on the inside? And let's see where else. We've got some dark over here. Right here, got a dark area. So We're just looking for all of the in-between places that we've got. We've got some areas in between our grapes. So we just need to catch all of those. We don't need to do the areas up at the top because those will be just light. It'll just be like light spaces. Let's see. There. Oh, without a car. Yeah, so what you did, took the bus? It's funny, I have a lot of friends who use the bus, and well, where I live now, I live out in the country, so that wouldn't be great for using the bus. But it kind of makes me feel like, man, I should be doing that too. I should be using public transportation more. Not so great about that. But that's really great. I'm glad to hear that you're taking the bus. Okay, so now we're going to outline our fruit. We're just going to give everything like a really nice... This is not for a realistic look. If you wanted a realistic look, then we would not outline our fruit because they would have edges versus lines. I'm going to go over that more, I think maybe even next week. I think next week I'm going to be doing an edges... like we're going to talk about edges versus lines. But let's see. In the meantime, this is going to be a little bit of an illustrative drawing. So what we're doing is we're outlining everything and just giving it a nice crisp line. Now I'm not going inside my stems, and in fact, you can take either your kneaded eraser, or if you're very careful, you can take a regular eraser and just erase the inside of the stems out. It's a very small area. I guess we can go ahead and crisp up the stems. So like I said, this is going to be a little bit more illustrative because normally if this were a realistic drawing, we would not outline our apples like this. This is an art style, the idea of outlining things. It's more stylized, meaning that it gives the appearance of an apple, but it's not realistic. We can go ahead and give our rim of the bowl like a nice line here. Flux. Since January, I have not been in one motorized vehicle. Since January. Is that because of the corona? I mean, I guess if you're not going very many places. Walking everywhere to reduce risk, and you're not a car person. That's fantastic. You know, and if I lived closer, like when I was in Charlotte, I lived walking distance from a lot of places, and so I did actually walk a lot more. Now I live out in the country, so it's not really an option. But yeah, I agree. I like walking better too. All right, so we've outlined everything nice and bold. We can do some bold outline down here. And notice I'm not doing my entire line. That's fine. Just gives it a little bit more of an illustrated look. Come to here. Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to add some of our shadow areas. So let's see. So this is going to be a little lighter, but we're going to have some shadow here. So we're not pressing down as hard as we did for these shadows. So we've got a little shadow here. And it kind of comes around the side because this apple's casting a shadow, this apple's casting a shadow. We will have a shadow here. So we're going to do one for each apple. We're going to figure out where the shadow needs to be. So if the light's coming from this side, the shadow is going to be on the right. Now remember, you've got a little bit of a reflection, or like a reflected light. So we'll leave just a tiny bit of light over there. You're in a small city with great bus network, so it's not easy but not hard either. Oh, that's really good. The city that I currently live in, I don't know what the situation's like, but the one that I'm looking to move to, I think has a really great transportation system. So that should be good. Hopefully I can use it more. Okay, so we've got, this is this side. Again, leave a little bit of reflected light. And notice that it's thinner up at the top than it is at the bottom because there's more light hitting it. We're going to spread this too so that it's going to look a little bit more even. Right now, it looks pretty choppy. This one actually has shadow up here too because the whole thing is facing away from the light. So there's a little shadow there. Our pear has shadow on the underside. Let's see. This apple, we've got a little bit of shadow in there. And then most of the shadow is going to be on the right side again. Now, there should be a cast shadow here from this apple. And there should be a little bit of a shadow here because this is going down underneath this apple. So just a little shadow, not much. This apple is going to be casting a little bit of a shadow. So we've got some shadow along this apple behind it. It's funny, when I first lived here, because I lived in this same city, 20 something years ago, I did public transportation all the time. But then I moved out to the country and I never did, but just because it doesn't come out this way. But in town, the public transportation is great here. All right, so all of our grapes, we've got to hit all of our grapes, and they're all going to have it on the right side. So just try to make it go with the curve of the grapes. So I've got the right side of all of these. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our spreader. We're actually going to spread our shadows. And like I said, because once it's dirty, you can come out a little bit from where the shadow is, and that's going to make it look more realistic, like it's fading. So just come out like to the left of the shadow a little bit. All right, and the grapes. And this grape here, I think probably should have a little more shadow on it because it's behind some stuff. Trying to think about like where the grapes are. Like this one's kind of recessed behind, so it's going to be filled in a little bit more. Similar here. So just think about where it is and what's covering it. This one has a little grape right over it, so that little corner there would have just a tiny bit of shadow. That's what you think about when you're looking at these. Think about where the light's hitting it, what's covering it. All right, now our stems are all going to have a little bit of shadow on the underside. Like what's facing away from the light, which is coming from here. Now this stem in the back, we're going to do like a little curly cue. So, because this is the grapes. So, you know, grapes have this kind of curly cue, like vine. And I'm just curly cueing it. I'm not doing anything fancy. Here, I'll hold it up so you can see. Right here. I just basically did little circles that makes it look like it's going around the vine, and then did a couple little loops, and that's it. Nothing too exciting. We might have some curly cue that comes down around. Might have some over here. All right. And now I think we just check it to see if there's anything else we need to catch, because I think that's all. We might do a couple little leaves. Let's do like a little leaf here. And maybe one coming out there. Let's see. Anything else? I don't think so. I think that's it. I think we got everything. This might have a little shadow on it down there. Done. So, oh, no, we're not. The bowl has no shadow on it. That won't work. All right, so we've got a shadow starting here. So this would look pretty bad. I mean, it does look pretty bad. Okay, so we've got our shadow here. What's going to happen is it's going to, because the bowl is curved, we're going to have our shadow is going to be shaped kind of in an oval shape. You're going to have like a highlight on this side. All right. And this tells us that right here kind of thins a little bit and then fattens again. So I'm going to shade this in. Can't believe I almost forgot the shading on the bowl. Tisk tisk. Okay. This will have a little shading here, just on the right side. Now, it's going to get a little darker the more you get to the right, but just remember that we still have that reflected light. And we'll blend this so it doesn't look quite as stark. Like, see, you can see that line there. We'll blend that. It also gets darker up towards the rim because that's where there isn't a lot of light there. All right, let's go ahead and blend that. And you can let your blending stump come, or whatever you're using, paper or whatever, come a little bit past the line where you drew. That way it covers that and makes it look not so stark. Not such a hard line. Don't forget, it should stay a little bit lighter over here on the right because that's where our reflected. And let's see, I actually want it to be a little darker down here too to show that it's going under. That there's like a, you know, that it's actually sat in a little bit. I'll darken this up here too. Again, some more. And I'll darken this back here too. Blend again. Oops, wrong side. I try to keep aside for when I use the red pencils, like the sepia. I try to keep aside just for that so that it's not dirtied with the black. At some point, this is getting pretty dull, so I'm going to have to sharpen this. And you can actually put it directly in a pencil sharpener if it's a good one and not like a cheap plastic one. That's why I like these, because they're metal. Like I said, not very expensive, like $2 or something. There. All right. Now, I think that's everything. I'm trying to, if we have any more. I think that's everything. I'm giving it a once over. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to sign it, and then we're going to take a look at this. So, first things first, I'm going to tell you I'm not a fan of the shape of my bowl. Like, why didn't I do a hard outline on the top left bowl rim? I mean, I can. Oh, you know what I didn't do, though? I didn't blend it here, right at the edge. I let it be a hard edge. So, blend this. We can do one. There's not one in the picture, so I was just following the reference photo, but we can. I think because the light is actually hitting it. Hold on. So the light's hitting it, so maybe I don't want that. Maybe I don't want it to be as dark, just because the light is hitting it directly. That's a really good question. I was just following the reference photo, but yeah, I mean, if we did the hard outline everywhere else, why not right there? I am going to blend this a little bit more, though. Okay, so the shape of my bowl, I got the apples. Oh yeah, I guess you're right. I guess you're right. Like if the apples, they would have been shiny on this side too. Yeah, I think it's just an inconsistency in the reference photo, so that's a good catch. I think we could go ahead and darken that. And then that would make it look consistent. You're right. So, same thing with the side of the bowl here too. Now, I don't think I did the shape of this bowl great Actually, now that I've done this line, it actually looks a little better. So maybe it just needed that line. Good call, John. Good call. Overall, I think it's pretty successful. I mean, everything pretty much, it looks like stylized fruit. I probably could work on the shape of my bowl a little bit. Maybe work on my shadows a little bit more, getting more precise, doing things like this shadow here would be much darker right there than it would be over here. So that just gives it like an even more rounded shape. Same thing right here, it'd be darker. Like the farther away from the light source, the darker it is. So you can kind of play with it that way, you know, to give it a look. But overall, I think it's pretty good. So did anybody follow along with me and have uploaded to Discord? We're going to actually go look. If you followed along with me and you drew, then if you want, you can take a picture of like with your phone or whatever and upload to the Discord server again right here, or there's a button down below, and we can talk about it. So if anybody's interested, we can do that. Let's see, what do we have? So I don't have it yet. John, did you follow along? I know Flex, you came in later, so I'm sure you're doing your own work. But John, did you follow? No. Okay. Well, then we don't need to worry about going to the Discord. But know, viewers, that if you're watching this if you're watching the VOD on Twitch or you're watching this on YouTube, then you are absolutely welcome to join my Discord, and you can upload your photos so that we can go over it and talk about it. And if you want feedback, or even if you just want to share and show us like what you're working on. I am done. So we're going to go ahead and finish the stream, but tomorrow we'll be doing another bowl of fruit, apples and oranges, but we'll be doing that with acrylic painting. So that is tomorrow's stream, and that will be at 2 p.m. Pacific time, which is GMT -7. And that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the stream. I appreciate you coming by and participating with me. And I really appreciate the feedback. So thank you, John, for that. And you guys have a fantastic weekend. Cheers.